Man, I wasn't prepared with the music this morning, so I feel like I've neglected my duties here at the start of a weekly Macroverse roundup.
This is true. This is true. We'll save everyone the humiliation of us singing instead, or something like that.
Oh, you're
Because I
tempting.
feel like we shouldn't be inflicting that
You
on
know,
the
can
world.
I tell you something? So, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. My 7-year-old, I don't know where he discovered this, but has gotten really into this very particular sea shanty. I think it's actually probably something you saw on like TikTok randomly or something.
Yes.
But it's called the Wellerman. And so just about every morning while we're getting ready for school, like that's the first song that gets played. And it's this, you got to like do this kind of like chest thumping thing, and then goes into the song, and then like after the first verse, it's like dun 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 dun, huh! And so that's what we're all doing on just about every school morning. It's very fun, very funny.
That's great. I'm glad that's the chest slapping thing, not Matt McConaughey in the Wolf of Wall Street when he's having the lunch.
What's funny is totally unrelated. I just rewatched The Wolf of Wall Street, just maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was totally unrelated to this sea shanty obsession, but it did make me think like the correlation there is pretty funny. Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I hope you did not watch that with the children.
Did not watch that with the children. Yes. Not quite ready for that yet. We're still dealing with like being nervous about live action anything scary. So I think
Fair enough. I remember when The Wolf of Wall Street came out and we were watching the screener for it. We're in that phase of watching a bunch of the screeners with the kids, and that was, they were obviously older than yours are, but still, this was a few years ago. So Kira was probably 15 or 16, I guess, my oldest. And we were like, okay, Kyla, definitely not, but like, Kira's old enough. And then I think the first scene, he's like doing blow off the hooker, off the sex worker. I was like, oh God, no, we're not doing this. Thank you. Good night.
probably a wise move there. I would have to say.
Yeah. But yes, hello. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yes, indeed.
We want to do a quick weekly catch up of all things Macroverse.
This is our weekly Macroverse Catchup. We'll kind of touch on each of the projects and then talk more specifically about a couple of larger macro, pun intended, things that we're working on as well. We're still in a phase right now where there are so many cool things going on that we can't talk about yet that it's a little annoying. One thing that just got closed yesterday, which is very exciting. So we should be able to announce that relatively soon.
Well, that'll be, if all goes to plan, that'll be the end of the month. Right?
End of the month. That's right.
Well, that would be Halloween launch date, I believe.
Yeah, the launch date Halloween. I think the announcement may come a little bit earlier than that. But
you're right. That is very true. That is very true.
But something to look forward to over the span of this creepy crawly month, which this project isn't particularly creepy crawly, but it does have some very cool supernatural elements to it. It's unexpected. I will say that, but I think people are going to really.
I think people get a kick out of it.
Yes. We got the artist for it signed on yesterday as well, which I'm very excited about. Someone we've worked with before who is just absolutely fantastic. And then he shared, side note, he shared a graphic novel that he's been working on of his own work, which is so good.
It's so good. I was kind of blown away. I didn't really know what I was, one of those, don't click links you don't know, obviously, but I'm still like, hey, let me just look at this thing. And dear God, just fantastic.
So hopefully we can have him on to talk about that a little bit in connection with this project, actually. Big fan of his work in general, and this project of his own, as well as the project that we're about to do with him. So definitely something to look forward to there. So let's kind of go around the Macroverse and talk about various projects. Maybe in this case today, we'll save our show and tell. We got a little bit of show and tell maybe as the last thing. So just do kind of a catch up quickly up to that. So On GSA, Galactic Secret Agency, still kind of in the same place that we were last week. We're in the final stages with the script there, and then we'll ultimately need to attach an artist, which we haven't done in that case just yet. So that will come. With Bushido's, I want to give a Bushido's update, Adam. There's some cool stuff going on there, actually.
Yeah, some fun stuff. So obviously, big thank you to people who participated, who contributed to the kind of casting that we did last week and made the announcements last week. Very exciting about that. So agreements out to everyone. We've had the first couple back because these are, you own these things and we are licensing these things from you, which is great.
Maybe a little recap might be helpful for anyone that.
Oh, good point. Yes.
So
totally fair.
What's the context for that?
The context, very true. I just kind of assume people know these things. We have been in production on a kind of core comic series for the Bushido's universe, shall we say, the kind of core Bushido story. We are into production now. We are getting art in for episode 7 of that, which is very exciting. It'll be an 8-episode run, which will give us a graphic novel length, especially in conjunction with the anthology series we also produced. So we are kind of herring towards, obviously, release of that, and then there will be a package print edition is very much part of the goal with this as well.
Yeah.
We retroactively decided to cast all of our main principals from the community's Bushidos, from the characters that the community holds. Mainly
characters, lead characters,
exactly. Sorry, just slipping into kind of movie parlance there. The heroes of the story, we basically decided to cast, having done this casting process now with a couple of other projects, and so very much felt like, this is something we should have done at the beginning. We didn't know we just didn't think about it when we did it, so wanted to reward the community and kind of have that fun and have people feel engaged and all those good things. So put out a casting call a couple of weeks ago. Week later, we went through them. Evan and I selected, these are the 4 kind of heroes that we're looking at. There are some other speaking roles that we need to do as well, guards and things like that. There is another high priestess who was cast, Aguda, who is appearing in this episode that's being penciled right now. But we made those announcements last week. We sent out license agreements. We've been getting those back. So very excited to be kind of moving ahead with that. And there is, as we can talk more about, and if people have questions, happy to answer those questions. Essentially, we're treating this like it's a kind of the Screen Actors Guild residual pool. So there is some kind of revenue. There is essentially some revenue, some royalties coming, some residuals for the use of those characters in this comic series, coming back to the owners of those characters per the license agreement. Strictly about those characters, nothing more than that, but it's great. It'll be great to have people kind of participate in the success of that and enjoy some of the success of that as well.
Yeah.
So that was last week, and like I say, into pencils, which is the first stage, the kind of layout stage of episode 7, and finishing writing on. We've got a kind of strong. We were well into episode 8, but we had to rethink about how we wanted to end the season, and so we're into a kind of reconfigure on episode 8 and a rewrite on episode 8. But knowing that we have that time, given that the artist is just the fantastic Nicholas Castell, is going on episode 7 now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're catching up on that process or want to see more of that process, it's all on the Bushido's Twitter feed or Twitter X feed at Bushido's NFT. Side note, I think we're going to be updating all of our Twitter/X handle towards the more of the world of these stories and characters, and less on the specific NFT side. NFTs will be a part of it, obviously. But I think as we build out these worlds and brands, we don't want them to feel like they're just one thing. So, just as a be forewarned that we'll put up, we'll do whatever we can to point from there to, make that switch easy. But I think we're going to see if we can snatch. Actually, I shouldn't say what we're going to try to snatch, because I know there's people out there in the world.
This is true.
So anyway, look for that change for some of those that have NFT in the handle, as we start to build these things out bigger and broader. So yeah, very cool on the Bushido's front. The other thing which we talked about last week with Bushido's, which we owe the community and just want to do, is the specifics around which character in the comic each of the people has been cast in. So that is still coming. This week really has been a whirlwind of getting stuff out for a bunch of the opportunities which are now kind of in the mix, and things that we're working on behind the scenes, and things that, again, we can't wait to talk more about. But that has delayed that a little bit. So, just still coming. We will be making kind of a specific, as big of a deal as we can about, like, this is the character, this is the person that got cast, this is the character from the collection that's now correlated to this character in the comic. We want to do that right. We want to spend a little time, like, letting people know, who those characters are, why this is so cool, and maybe a little, perk or something special for those people that are now cast in these roles. So I think there's going to be some very good fun stuff to do there.
Fun stuff for sure.
So that's Bushido's. KIA. So a little bit sad on the KIA front. And I'm just putting up these handles so people can find them. So see how prepared we are for today's stream. So that is Koala Agency. NFT is the Twitter/X handle for the KIA. So this is the Koala Intelligence Agency. The reason I'm a little sad about the KIA is that, we are doing something unique and special with the Koala Agency, and that is daily or almost short form comic strips. Yes. So as close to daily as we can ultimately get them, but a large number of short form comic strips. And the key creative element there is, in addition to your wonderful characters and a bunch of really fun ideas that have been submitted in the pinned tweet on the KIA, if you want to jump into that, we need the right artist for this. And we thought we might have had them, and then it turned out that's not really going to work out for this particular project. So we are on the hunt. I've got my, well, not quite back to the drawing board. Yeah. I have my what would I call it? My sights set on someone else I think could be great for this. So having that conversation later this week or early next week. We will, of course, find the right artist for this. And, it's a little bit of a special mix here, because what we're trying to do is not just have someone that can execute something beautiful visually, but also that can really bring some story and some humor and kind of the right tone that we're looking for to the strips themselves. So stay tuned. We will continue to update the progress, every week as we do these updates. But that's where we're at with KIA at the moment.
And again, those of you that have been around with us and this ecosystem for a little bit know this process can take a little bit of time. Even sometimes when it does happen, it can also then fall out. Lady Valor, I'm looking at you and one of your shorts. It happens, and it is about finding the right person who has the availability, who has the right sensibility, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah. So better to know now and not get down this road later and then discover, oh crap, they're not the right person.
I was talking to someone about this yesterday. It's been one of the hardest lessons, which I still I'm still learning as we do all of this work with some just incredible collaborators. But it is so important to find the right person, not just creatively, but also who really genuinely wants to do the project and is motivated to be a part of it. And it really makes sense for them, for what their goals and objectives are. And, when you find someone that I'll say for me personally, that I get excited about the work, but for whatever reason, it's just not a good fit for the project. It is just so much better to move on. And so, that's, again, hard lesson for me to have learned over several projects where I really struggled to try to keep someone on board that really didn't ultimately need or want to be on board, and paid the price for it in multiple ways.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that's one of the reasons we work well together is I think I'm a little more inclined to kind of drop the guillotine blade on the on the person, be like, not working, let's go. Yeah. And then we end up hopefully balancing somewhere in the middle. But yes.
Yeah. Well, I think there have been a couple times where that guillotine blade should have been dropped, but a little sooner than it was.
I don't know why I went guillotine rather than like sword or something. But
yeah, hey, we're
been rereading A Tale of Two
French
Cities.
Revolutionaries today. Yeah,
exactly. Zachary is coming for us all.
All right, so let's talk about Deadtown for a second. So at Deadtown NFT, that will be one of the ones that also gets a name update. So Deadtown is our post-apocalyptic, zombie world. We are wrapping up the art production on the last couple of anthology series there. A couple of those have been very long gestating. So I'll admit, it's a longer process there. But we're getting very close to done with all of that work, and we'll start releasing those on the app relatively soon here as well. As we head towards what we'll talk about in the second half of this conversation, the launch of our platform, obviously Deadtown is one of those launch titles, and Stephen Perkins, who's the artist on Deadtown, is working on a little something to also celebrate the launch of the platform that's in the realm of everything that people have seen, but with some kind of cool new elements to it as well. So a little tease there. There will be more around Deadtown as the platform launches. In the meantime, Rommel and Lady Valor and Tiny Universe, actually, it's mostly Rommel and Tiny in this case, but Lady Valor will always shout you out, have come up with a very fun idea, which I think could be a really cool short story in Deadtown as well. So that conversation is happening in the Discord if anyone wants to see what that is. So that's what's going on with Deadtown, and production on the series, the main series, continues there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So does that bring us to Vogu?
That brings us to Vogu. It does indeed. That
brings us to Vogu. So let's talk about _Vogu is the Twitter for that. And what we're going to do today is show the first layouts for Rommel's story, the Noodle Heist, or as the working title. Incredible artist named Adrian that we're very excited. I think has done an incredible job with this so far. So I'm going to just screen share a little bit here. This is Rommel's Tar. That is the star of this story. And then one of the cool things that he did in the submission process, and you can, of course, see this in the threads on Twitter as well, is created this piece of concept art probably using Midjourney, I believe, but to give kind of
expertise with Midjourney. Yes,
true. Yes, he's gotten very good at it. So created this piece of concept art about who might this character be when they're not tethered or projecting themselves into their robot Tar body. And so I thought this was very cool in that one of the things that is always helpful for the artists that we work with is just to give them as much reference or, just kind of trying to communicate what are we thinking. And then our advice is always the more we can give that, tell that, bring that across to the artists that we're working with, and then say, now do, your thing, do what you do. Is often a good mix of, bringing that kind of energy and creative collaboration together. So this is without a lot of context of the story itself, what these layouts look like. One of the things that I always find really fun is different artists approach their layouts in different ways. So, these are the rough stages of what these pages will ultimately look like. We're really just looking at communicating the beats of the story or kind of the moments around the storytelling that are kind of going to bring us through this. I love this little callback to what happened in episode 0 around that. I think it's kind of a wonderful little homage there in a fun way. And then here's page 2. So, moving from what's happening, in the world of Tars, this Vogu chef is now one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah.
And I just imagine in like animation or live action, that arm is like changed. So cool. And then here we come, into the world of the person that's tethered, into that body. So I think that's a very cool way of showing that transition. I'm working with Jason on episode 1 of the main series right now. Sorry for a little background noise. Working with Jason on episode 1 of the main series right now, and we're figuring out exactly how we're depicting the humans that are in these seed ships. And this might be a little hint, not necessarily at that, but how different people in this universe might have access to their TARs as well. So some fun stuff, some surprises coming in the world of Vogu as all of these things come together. But very pleased with the work that Adrian is doing. He's the artist here. And all of the other Vogu stories except one are currently assigned. And I think I have the artist for that actually as of the last 24 hours or so. So
oh, great.
Those should all be moving fully into production. And very fun stuff.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be seeing stuff. I suspect we'll end up seeing stuff over the weekend on quite a lot of those.
I suspect so.
It'd be lovely.
Yeah. And then, not our project, but couple projects we're collaborating on. So maybe we have to be a little more obtuse with some of these elements, but you want to talk a little bit about where we're at with Wanderers?
Yeah, no, for sure. Several people here contributed to the Wanderers shorts. We are waiting on art for the last. Well, we have actually art in now for Lady Valor's was one of the last scripts that came in. One of the last scripts that came in. One of the last scripts that was done for the Wanderers anthology series. We got some just incredible line art for that, and we've handed that off to a colorist. So the colorist is working now, which means they did a phenomenal job on actually one of the other series, one of the other shorts for the Wanderers, which was amazing. So very much looking forward to seeing that. I would expect early next week we'll have probably finished colors on that, which will be incredible. We've kind of started gently putting the lettering and things in place. We'll probably do rough passes on lettering in the next little bit. There's not a desperate, we're obviously working very closely with the Wanderers team on that. They want to hold off because they're focusing so strongly, and I think very rightly, on everything they've got going with their game. They don't want to kind of take the wind out of the sails of that at all, and then really wrap up with great. Here's the first big launch of the game, and here's this ton of other great stuff coming as well. But they're doing, the bits we've seen of the game is just incredible. The art we've got going on the core series is amazing. Halfway through episode 3 right now on that, with the full thing being ready by Christmas. That is the plan at this point. And then there's another kind of secret short kicking around as well, actually by the same artist that looks great. So just really love everything that the Wanderers is doing, and it's all very intentional. It's very precise. They've been great. They've been great.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And again, I wish there was more we could show at this point, but that will all come in time. And it's very, very cool.
Yep.
All right, so I'll just do a very quick update on Moonbird's comic, which is still in kind of early stages of production. There's been a little turmoil with the Proof team, unfortunately, over the past few days. Not turmoil with us and Proof, but just I think them having to make some hard choices around team size in this market. So there's been a handful of people that have been let go from the team and are now kind of onto the next opportunities. I've had the pleasure of getting to know a bunch of the team members from Proof and Moonbirds, and I can only wish everyone the best in whatever their next endeavor is. And I put a tweet out which said, if we were able to hire every single one of them, I would be advocating for that because they're all fantastic. So that's delayed a little bit of the progress as they restructure and kind of figure out how they're moving forward on the Proof and Moonbird side, but we're still moving ahead, with our end of the comic series as well. So something about that will be forthcoming as far as how to start participating. We're kind of moving towards the kickoff of storytelling sessions in the community and kind of the stuff that we do to build
The
out
stuff that we
these
do.
worlds.
Yes. And what we can certainly say is we've seen a lot of a decent chunk of the extended lore and the extended universe building that they've been working on all this time, and and it's very, very genuinely. I've read a lot of decks. I've read a lot of this type of lore building stuff. It was one of the best, and we've made a bunch of them, and including our own work. This is absolutely one of the best kind of presented, coherent, large scale. I mean, it hits everything that we kind of wanted for the project and then some. So I'm very excited to once that gets unveiled, what'll come from that, I think will be very, very cool.
It's very cool. And then, we had a great conversation with the core creatives behind that World Bible and the Lore Bible as well. And I think have actually discovered a couple of places in the lore that will be our kind of specific Ballywick focal point, kind of things to pull from as we build out the comic series. So I think it's going to be really nice to have this story in this series that lives inside the universe, but carves out its own little space within it as well. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So more to come there. And then, as always, there's a bunch of other stuff that we're working on. We'll have some more to talk about with DMC in the very near future. We have, I want to say a couple of other names so badly, but I'm not going to. Tiny would be trying to get me to say it, but I'm not going to. A bunch of other cool things going on, which again, we'll have to talk about soon. So let's shift gears into the platform. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's two sides to what we do on the distribution and release side at the moment and the digital side of things. So there's our mobile app, which is out on iOS and Android. We pushed a pretty significant update to the app a couple of weeks ago now. This is the first kind of major refresh of the UI and the overall experience of the app itself. It's a lot smoother and faster. We think the format of it, works a little bit better, and it's also building towards some of the things that we intend to release on the app and through the app over the next little bit of time. So if you don't currently have the Macroverse app, please visit your favorite app store, either on iOS or Android. If you search Macroverse, you'll see Macroverse Next Gen Comics. There's a nice little selection of free episodes. And then for the love of Pete, for the love of whatever your favorite character is, just subscribe to the app and try it out. Like, there's so much good stuff on there. If you have participated in several of our recent mints, whether that's been the Vogu short comic or the Sal Bones mint that we did a little while ago, which is also continuing in production. There are a few places on Discord, if you have participated in those, where you can actually get a free subscription to the app. If you want to DM us either on Instagram, if you want to DM us on Discord, or open a support ticket on Discord, or message us on Twitter, we might be able to slip you a free subscription code as well. But we would love everybody to try out the app if you haven't. So try out the app. There's a bunch of really great stuff on there. Also, shout out to Digital Pools, which is a series that's coming out weekly right now. Alex and Matt, who create that series, are just phenomenally talented and doing something really special with this very big world, very ambitious world that they're building right in front of our very eyes. So lots of cool stuff there. So check out the app. And then on the platform side, we are probably 4 to 6 weeks away from the launch of the platform. The big thing that we're focused on right now is migrating from testnet to mainnet. So we're in the midst of getting everything ready to launch on mainnet. What that looks like is essentially bringing all the content that needs to be on the platform to be able to be minted and then read and collected and all those wonderful things bringing that into place. There'll be a little testing phase to make sure that everything is working smoothly. And then, of course, we'll need to deploy the smart contract onto mainnet, make sure that all that's working properly. So we're getting very, 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 very close, but that work is ongoing, just getting everything ready to launch. If you're interested in the very first digital collectible comics that are true collectible comics, not just a token gated cover art, not to say anything about other comics projects, but what we're doing is cooler. If you're interested in participating in that first collection, the thing to do is get on the pre-mint list. And so you'll find that either through the Discord or premint.xyz, just search Macroverse. If you are a holder of many of the projects that we talked about from those things, Bushido, Grogu, etc. Sorry. I don't know what happened to my brain right there for a second. If you are a holder of those projects, there are also special pre-mint pages that you can use those characters to validate, your access to the list. Just might be some special things we can do if you come in through that door, but it's not the only way. You can also just get on the list at the main pre-mint link. And those people that do register for the pre-mint will, definitely get early access to that drop. So there are 1,000 of each of the 5 titles that we're putting out. We'll do a whole session on kind of the way that it all works and what the different rarity tiers are, and little previews around some of the cool things that we built into this, as we get a little bit closer. But we're getting very close, and it's exciting. So very, very cool on that front. What else is going on? So much. I guess those are kind of the main updates for this week. I think the other thing to just kind of wrap up with is what we have a podcast which is actually out there for anyone that wants to go discover old episodes. I think we got up to about 70 episodes of the podcast. That's called Myth Makers, and we always wrap up with Myth Makers with this. The British whatchamacallit, the Hoojamaflip, which is, kind of what is top of mind on the pop culture landscape for what are you watching, what are you interested in, what are you excited about? Adam, what is your Hoojamaflip for this week?
That's interesting. So for me, we did see The Creator last weekend that just got released. Beautiful, worth seeing on a big screen. Irritating in other ways. So just some of the logic, the internal logic of the world they built, some of the world building stuff, some of the kind of logical jumps, it didn't work on a kind of structural level, but Gareth Edwards God knows he knows how to make beautiful pictures at kind of scale in a very lived in world, in a very organic world. So definitely worth seeing and problems. Flip side, Generation V on Amazon, the Boys spinoff.
Yes.
I've only seen the pilot at this point, but holy shit, I'm all in. It's amazing. Just great. Yep. Just great. Yes.
Definitely all in. I will thumbs up the Gen V series, especially if you like the Boys. It is more of the Boys, but just in a different context. And it's
I think to be fair, if you like the Boys, you will probably like Gen V.
Yes.
If you don't like the Boys, you will hate Gen V.
Yeah.
So yes.
Definitely. Exactly. If you like your superheroes with excess in every possible domain, then that is the place for you. But yes, I love it as well. 2 things that I've really been enjoying. So one is, funny enough, my kids are off of school this week for kind of a autumn break or some interesting
That's fair
reason that they
half term. It's an English thing, or at least European thing. It makes total sense. But
I mean, sure. But we've started watching Lego Masters, which is an insane amount of fun. So this is hosted by Will Arnett, who of course is the voice of Lego Batman. So you kind of feel like Lego Batman is talking to you the entire time. But it's a kind of standard reality competition show where teams have to build more and more elaborate and insane Lego things for the various challenges. And not only is it a lot of fun, But in my particular case, watching the kids now get super excited about building Legos again as a result,
that's really
has
nice.
made it a double extra bit of enjoyment.
Yeah.
So definitely a recommend on Lego Masters. It's a little bit of a guilty pleasure kind of thing, but it's a lot of fun if you like Lego.
Great.
Seeing people be creative with Legos. There are some things that they build which are definitely beyond my Lego skill set. And then the other thing I would definitely recommend is, I may have said this before, but there's a new podcast with I guess episode 6 or 7 now with Jake Johnson from New Girl and Gareth Reynolds from our another show that we love called The Dollop. And it's very fun and very funny. It's called
We're Here to Help.
We're Here to Help. Yes, we're here to help. And
comes out twice a week, half-hour episodes, super contained.
Very quick, very fun. Somebody's calling in with a random problem. And then they try to give advice and ask people to check back in with what they decide to do. And
it's amazing. It is. They are very funny together. It's great. It's just great. Yes.
I mean, we were fans of Gareth's before. We went and saw his stand-up, together and seen The Dollop together a couple times. And he is hilarious on The Dollop without fail, and in his own stand-up, and then the two of them together is just a really fun dynamic as well. In this last episode, they're now calling him the fat what's his name? Oh my god, from Breaking Bad. Aaron Paul, the fat Aaron Paul.
Well, I guess someone tweeted at him and called him and said, like 10 years ago, you look like fat Aaron Paul. Gareth mistakenly brought this up, and so they've now
this latest episode has an intro where they intro him that way. It's very funny. And as a side, this is very deep inside baseball. You have to like these two podcasts for this to make any sense at all. But I think it's hilarious now that in both of them, there's sort of a let's dump on Gareth in the intro to the show. It's very funny. So anyway, if you're a fan of silly things that are, that are fun and funny,
light, fluffy, and this is not going to change anyone's life, but it's a delightful way to
Unless it will only change your life if you're someone who's dealing with one of these same issues, like, who does the better accent in your Dungeons and Dragons,
thing, or
competitiveness.
Your husband has been Googling, how do you remind your wife of a hall pass and things like that. Very funny.
Yes, exactly. That's a good sample of the range of issues that are dealt with in this show. So anyhow, a couple of recommends there. Find us as always at Evanverse,
Macroverse
Discord, at Macroverse is the Twitter X handle. And the best place to connect with us directly is in the Macroverse Discord, which is discord.gg/Macroverse. Yep. We're there daily. There's an incredible community of people there. And shout out to the community. Like, not to bring up anything too heavy here at the end of the show, but there are a handful of people in the Macroverse community that are dealing with some pretty significant life stuff. And, I'm not going to say what that stuff is because that's not for me to say. But I really have to appreciate and acknowledge this group of human beings that have come together around something as silly as NFTs, who have ended up being a pretty phenomenal support structure for each other. And it really makes me feel nice and really, appreciative of all of you, and also just to have played any part in facilitating a space where people feel like they can have these kinds of conversations and provide this kind of support for each other is a really wonderful thing. So shout out to everyone in that regard. And with that, we'll see you there, and we'll be back week. Same time, same Macroverse time, same Macroverse channel next week, and more to come.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.